Have you ever sat down and wondered why almost every country on earth is owing money? Why the United States, the richest and most powerful country, is owing more than $34 trillion? Why China, the world's manufacturing giant, is also in debt? Why Japan, peaceful and organized, has the highest debt to GDP ratio in the world? Why countries in Africa, Asia, Europe, South America, whether rich or poor, are all borrowing? And then the biggest question appears in your mind. If everyone is owing, then who exactly are they owing? Who is collecting all this money? It almost sounds like the world is running on debt. And the truth is this, it actually is. Debt is not just a financial term. Debt is the engine, the backbone, the foundation, and the fuel of modern global economies. Countries borrow to survive. Countries borrow to grow. Countries borrow to protect their people. Countries borrow even when they are strong. This may sound strange, but a country owing money is completely normal. In fact, the global system expects countries to borrow money. It rewards borrowing, it encourages borrowing, and it depends on borrowing. To understand this, let's start with a simple fact. Running a country is extremely expensive. Not expensive like running a business, not expensive like running a household, but expensive like operating a giant machine with millions or hundreds of millions of people inside it. Every single day, a country must pay teachers, doctors, nurses, police officers, road workers, soldiers, government workers, judges, immigration officers, firefighters, engineers, electricians, cleaners, public transport operators. Every day, money is needed to run schools, hospitals, airports, power stations, water systems, ministries, embassies, courts, military bases, and public projects. Imagine the amount of money a government spends every single hour. This is why even wealthy nations borrow. Borrowing is not a sign of poverty. Borrowing is a sign of activity. The more active a country is, the more money it needs. The more money it needs, the more it must borrow, especially when income is not enough. So why exactly are countries owing? Let's break it down in simple everyday English with many real-world examples. Countries borrow because their bills are massive. Think of a small city. Now multiply that city by 10,000. Multiply the schools, the roads, the electricity, the hospitals, the salaries, the police, the courts, the airports, the ports, the bridges, and the fuel required. Now you begin to understand why governments borrow money. No country, no matter how rich, has enough cash sitting in the bank to pay for everything at once. So countries borrow for different reasons. Some borrow to build, some borrow to survive. Some borrow to pay salaries. Some borrow because their income fell. Some borrow because they mismanage money. Some borrow because inflation hit hard. Some borrow due to currency collapse. Some borrow to attract investors. Some borrow because every other country is borrowing, and not borrowing puts them at a disadvantage. Look at the United States. It borrows trillions every year. Why? Because it wants to maintain the world's largest military, support social programs, fund research, maintain infrastructure, and run hundreds of federal agencies. Look at China. It borrows billions to build new roads, rails, airports, bridges, and entire cities. China uses debt as a tool to create more economic power. Look at the United Kingdom. It borrows to fund its National Health Service, NHS, pay pensions, and support public services. Look at Nigeria. It borrows because oil prices fall sometimes, and that reduces government income. It borrows to fund budgets, build infrastructure, and manage its currency. Look at Kenya. It borrows to build highways, ports, and railways. Look at Ghana. It borrows to pay salaries, stabilize the economy, and fund government operations. Borrowing has become normal. Borrowing is part of governance. Borrowing is part of leadership. No country is borrowing because it wants to. Countries borrow because the world is too expensive to run solely on cash. Countries owe money to four major groups. Most people think countries owe only the IMF or only China, but that's not true. Countries owe multiple groups at the same time. Let's look at each one clearly and simply. 1. Countries owe other countries. This is called bilateral debt. It means one country lending to another country. Examples: Nigeria owes China, Kenya owes Japan, Pakistan owes Saudi Arabia and China, Egypt owes Gulf countries. The United States owes Japan because Japan buys US government bonds. Bangladesh owes India for infrastructure funding. Ethiopia owes Turkey for construction financing. Countries also borrow from each other to build relationships, increase influence, and support trade. When China loans money to African countries, it gains economic influence. When the US lends money through treasury bonds, it strengthens alliances. When Japan lends to Asia and Africa, it grows diplomatic ties. Countries borrowing from countries is a form of global cooperation and also a form of geopolitical strategy. 2. Countries owe international organizations. These organizations exist to lend money across the world, offer help, support economies, and rescue countries in crisis. The main ones are IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank, Asian Development Bank, European Investment Bank. Examples: Ghana entered an IMF program in 2023 and 2024. Pakistan keeps returning to the IMF for bailouts. Egypt borrows from the IMF and World Bank for economic reforms. Ethiopia borrows from the World Bank to fund electricity projects. Kenya borrows from the African Development Bank for roads. These loans often come with conditions such as reduce government spending, remove subsidy, float your currency, raise taxes, cut wasteful expenses, improve transparency. These organizations lend money to stabilize the global financial system. Number 3, countries owe banks, investors, and private companies. These include global commercial banks, pension funds, hedge funds, private investors, insurance companies, investment firms. When a country issues Eurobonds, it is borrowing from private investors. These investors can be from anywhere: London, New York, Dubai, Europe, Singapore, or Africa. Examples: Nigeria issued Eurobonds that investors bought. Kenya issued bonds that private lenders purchased. Ghana borrowed heavily from private investors before its debt crisis. Argentina owes billions to global hedge funds. Many countries owe private banks in Europe and America. This type of debt is risky because private lenders demand higher interest. This is only half of the story. The real secret is in the next video. Don't stop here. What you see next will shock you.